Ben, there is a serious issue going on right now in terms of the lack of a suspect in custody, Ben Leo. Authorities continuing to hunt for Charlie Kirk's killer. Some of the images we're seeing from Utah of armed police in military fatigues being deployed around the university. Are we getting more information on how that operation is progressing?
Yes, indeed, Charlie. There were videos doing the rounds online around 2 hours ago of what everybody thought was the shooter. It was a gentleman who was being bundled to the ground at this Turning Point USA event in Utah, where Charlie was tragically murdered. He was bundled into the back of a van, and the gentleman who was in the clip was saying, shoot me now. But it turns out that wasn't the guy who shot Charlie Kirk, as we understand. And we've had no update yet. No media organisations have had an update as to who the shooter was or if they've been apprehended. So you'd have to assume, with no update and a void right there now of information, that the shooter, which is terrifying, is on the run. It hasn't been caught yet. And I'd just like to address some of Nina's comments there with regards to extremism. Charlie Kirk, in my opinion, may have ruffled people up the wrong way with some of his views, but I'd argue in no way were they extreme. I don't believe it's extreme to say that men shouldn't play in women's sports, as Charlie advocated for. I don't believe it's extreme for children to be protected from gender ideology and mutilating themselves aided by adults. And I don't think it's extreme to have an ambition, an admiration for strong borders. These are ideas that just even 10 years ago were common sense views. What is extreme is being murdered for your opinions, for your thoughts, especially in the way that Charlie was murdered tonight at an open, democratic event which he was famous for holding all across America. He did them in the UK as well, at Oxford University and Cambridge, where he sits down and has an open debate, an open discussion, a jovial conversation with people who disagree with him. And he paid the ultimate price. And I'm sad reading Charlie Kirk's X feed from the last 24 hours, because just 17 hours ago, less than a day, Charlie Kirk tweeted an image of the poor Ukrainian refugee who was slaughtered on a train here in North Carolina with a picture of her terrified face. And he simply captions the picture, "America will never be the same." Well, let me tell you, Charlie viewers back home, I can guarantee tonight America will never be the same after the slaying of Charlie Kirk. Not only was he a titan of the conservative movement here in the United States, credited for helping Donald Trump get elected in November last year, more importantly, he was a father of 2 young children, very, very small children. He was a loving husband to his wife, Erica. He was a friend, he was a son, he was a human being who has been slain for his thoughts. I'm joined now by Steve Edginton, our man on the ground here in America for the past couple of years. Steve, your reaction, please, to the killing of Charlie Kirk.
It's a terrible day for America, and we've actually seen millions of people send their condolences, their love to Charlie Kirk and his family so far. But unfortunately, we've also seen thousands of people react in a vile way. If you search for his name on X, you'll see lots of people celebrating his death, saying some of the most disgusting things. We also saw on some of the liberal networks here, after Charlie Kirk was shot, and it was unclear whether he'd survived or not, one of the anchors actually blamed Charlie essentially for his own murder. He said that Charlie basically had hateful words, which leads to hateful actions. There was also a suggestion that this could have been a random shooting from one of his supporters where their gun had gone off. Now, these kind of comments, they talk about hateful words leading to hateful action. I think there's a lot of concern in America right now of the liberal media and many whipping up hatred against conservatives, describing them as tyrants, describing them as Nazis, describing them as kind of Adolf Hitler and attack on democracy. That kind of rhetoric can only lead to extremism. When you have far-left crazy people who come out there and believe what you're saying, if you literally believe Donald Trump is Hitler, if you literally believe that Charlie Kirk is a threat to democracy, well, what are you going to do about it? this could potentially lead to actions like we saw today. So I think there needs to be a cooling down of rhetoric on all sides, but particularly against conservatives from many out here in America who demonize conservatives, demonize Republicans. And look what we've got as a result of that. Political violence, political assassination. I mean, Donald Trump last year came within an inch of dying because of an assassination attempt. Obviously, we don't know the intentions of the current murderer. They haven't even been arrested yet. We don't know what happened last year with the Thomas Crooks, who was killed on the spot after he tried to kill President Trump. But we can say this. There is a serious concern around the kind of rhetoric from the left demonizing the right. And I think we've seen that today on X, on Twitter, and we've seen it, unfortunately, on the liberal media networks as well.
Where does America go from here, Steve? You've been here for a while. Bev Turner and I have only been here a few weeks preparing for our new GB News show, but you've been here for a considerable amount of time. Will there be events still in the fashion that Charlie held, open air debate with thousands of people? I mean, I'd suggest, knowing Charlie, that the very small amount of time I did, that he'd want that to carry on.
I think he would, absolutely. I hope these events do continue, but one suspects that just after any kind of political assassination or terrorist attack, there will be a huge amount of security ramped up at these kind of things. We're going to see the kind of security you see at Donald Trump rallies, where all of your belongings are put through X-rays. You're not allowed to bring very many things. You could maybe bring a bottle of water to his rallies and so on. And this has a serious impact on American democracy and the American political discourse. We want to be able to have free discussions. We want to be able to have good debates with people we disagree with without being shot and murdered because of your political beliefs. And I hope that people don't get intimidated by this, but it's understandable if people don't want to turn up to these events, if they're fearful of their lives, if they're fearful of being murdered again by these political extremists. So yes, this could have a serious, deep impact on the American psychology. Again, this is the country of the First Amendment. This is the country of freedom of speech. This is the country of open debate. And to have political assassination here in America, it's not unprecedented. In 1960s, we had a lot of political assassinations. That led to riots, that led to terrible things. But in decades, we haven't seen it, and unfortunately, it's coming back.
Steve, thank you. Charlie Peters, just before I throw back to you, I want to recall a conversation I had with Charlie Kirk when he came to London and he was on GB News. I interviewed him some months ago. We were talking off air about children. I was telling him about my young kids. He's got children of pretty much the same age. And just to prove to you how proud and how much he adored his young family, we were talking, and it makes me smile today, about how Charlie was saying, you know, having children really reignites your lust for life, because he was recalling a moment where he looked at his young child admiring a flower, something so simple as a flower, beautiful in colour, smelling amazing, and it reminded him, looking at the fascination on his young child's face, just how amazing life can be. It was a miracle, he called it. And Charlie Kirk, known of course as being a man of strong faith, he's a devout Christian, and the hope in the Christian community tonight, and I'd say the knowledge, not just the hope, the knowledge now is that Charlie has met his maker. He's now in the loving arms of God, as we all knew he would be.
Leo delivering a personal and loving tribute, as we'd expect there, live from Washington, D.C. And if you're just joining us live on GB News, Charlie Kirk, the American political commentator and conservative activist, was being shot dead tonight in Utah. There is no suspect in custody as it stands. A manhunt is still underway, and we have seen police officers in military fatigues deployed at that university, Utah Valley University, to continue the investigation. We're also hearing from the New York Times reporting that officials at Utah Valley University encourage students who are still on campus or who had taken shelter in university buildings to call for a police escort. The university wrote on social media, police will come and escort you out of the building. That, I think, points to the ongoing security situation at that location. On your screens right now is a live shot of the White House, where the American flag has been lowered, ordered by the US President Donald Trump. He wants American flags at buildings right across the United States at half-mast and lowered until Sunday at 6 p.m.